I'll now count it. Oh my goodness. What the heck is going on? Sorry, my Zoom is acting up. Okay, I will now call this meeting to order. And there's no public comment, but I'm going to be turning it over to Ryan Czekowski for a brief comment.
But right before we get into that, thank you, Gabby. I'll be starting with a land and enslaved laborers acknowledgement. Just give me 1 second, Ryan. We wish to acknowledge that the University of Virginia sits on the homeland of the Monacan. Are we good? I'll take that as a yes. Excuse me, I'll start from the beginning. We wish to acknowledge that the University of Virginia sits on the homeland of the Monacan Nation, whose members remain a vital part of the local community, and that UVA's original structures were built and maintained by enslaved laborers. We wish to further acknowledge the history of violence, displacement, and racism that led to UVA's establishment and maintenance. It is important for us as the university community to reflect and address the complicated past and present of our university during our time here as students. A special thanks to the Native American Student Union at UVA and the Multicultural Student Services for helping to write this statement. In the chat, I'll also be dropping a link that will allow you to check which land you currently occupy.
All right. Thank you so much, Booker. Ryan.
I know that Ryan's Wi-Fi, that's why I'm camera off. But
oh, yes. Wait, sorry, can you guys hear me?
Yes, now we can hear you again, Ryan.
Okay. Yeah, sorry. Sorry, Booker, I did not mean to cut you off there. Oh, okay.
Okay, to disable. I'm not able to hear Ryan. So he wanted to allow one of the proposed appointments for the introduce themselves. So Tiana, would you like to do a quick intro?
Thank you. I can get unmuted for a second. Sorry. But hi everyone. My name is Taina. I am one of the proposed chairs of the E&I committee, and I just wanted to say that, just a little bit about me. I'm a rising third year double majoring in global studies, security, and justice. And then I do work with Flip here at UVA as well. And I just wanted to emphasize that I wholeheartedly believe in the mission of the proposed committee. And I think there's excellent potential for resources to be allocated in a way that makes way for more equitable conversation and action and helping out marginalized student groups across grounds.
Okay, thank you so much for that comment. I will, yeah, thank you guys for bearing with us through the technical difficulties. Like I said, since there are no other public comments, we'll now be entering legislative session. And I'll begin by calling roll. So when I call your name, please raise your hand. Violet Cadet. Thank you. Nina Santana. Nina. Right here. Nina Santana. Thank you. Lillian Rojas. Thank you. Laura Arif. Thank you. Tyler Bush. Thank you. Tashara Robertson. Thank you. Christian Ephraim. Thank you. Ella Tinch. Thank you. Adrian Mommerl. Thank you. Jay Moody. Thank you. Rathika Kormath And. Thank you. Sarah Kirk. Thank you. Joshua Franklin. Rand Perry. Thank you. Alex Sheng. Jason Evans. Thank you. Isa Fortuno. Elizabeth Cruz. And Raphael Movsesian. Thank you. I will begin by entertaining the minutes from our last special session. Are there any comments, questions, or concerns about the minutes? I would look favorably upon a motion to vote. Jason?
Thank you. Motion to vote.
Thank you. Is there a second? Laura?
Second.
Thank you so much. Are there any objections? If you have an objection, please click your red X. Thank you. Seeing no objections, the minutes pass. I would now look favorably upon a motion to take SB 21-37 off the table. Ella?
I motion to take it off the table.
Thank you. Sarah?
Seconded.
Thank you. Are there any objections? If you have any objections, please click your red X. If there are no objections, the motion carries. SB 21-37 is moved off the table. I will now entertain SB 21-37, a bill to amend the student activities fee guidelines, and I'll entertain Ryan to speak on this legislation.
Okay, wait, can you guys hear me now? Okay, awesome. Sorry about all that. Yeah, just on the train. That's why my connection cut off. But yeah, so basically, I kind of talked about this guidelines last time, but the main things about it are we are essentially setting up the summer funding round to kind of help CIOs get funding for their activities in the early fall. This is something that we in previous years weren't able to do or didn't do. There's also some changes in terms of like organization. We tried to kind of categorize specific rules, so it's a little bit more intuitive as people read it, and also just removing like some of the COVID restrictions on funding so that people can do things like travel now or have in-person events. But yeah, I won't speak too much on this longer because
Gabby, you're muted.
Sorry. Thank you, Ryan. Are there any comments, questions, or concerns about this bill? Seeing none, I would look favorably upon a motion to vote. Jason?
Motion to vote.
Ella,
Seconded.
thank you. All of those in favor of this bill, please raise your hands. Thank you. Please put your hands down. All of those opposed, please raise your hands. And all those abstaining. Thank you. SB 21-37 passes. I will now entertain SB 21-41, a bill to create the Equity and Incentives Ad Hoc Committee. And I'll entertain Ryan to speak on this legislation.
Yeah, so, okay, sorry, can you guys hear me? Because there's an announcement going on. Okay, sorry about that. So yeah, this is basically a bill to create the Equity and Incentives Ad Hoc Committee. The reason why we feel the need to create something like this is within the organizations branch. I think we can be very bureaucratic at times. We're very impartial too in the way that we allocate our resources, both financial and non-financial. And I think sometimes that can be a little bit unequitable as well. So the two main things we're trying to really address with this are leveraging our resources in a way that better promote equity, and also just having better mechanisms for feedback, because right now we don't really have that. And already I've been working with Taina and Holly to kind of set up some things like focus groups to discuss issues of financial accessibility. And so I'm really excited for this committee, and I hope you guys will vote yes.
Thank you, Ryan. Are there any comments, questions, or concerns about this bill? Okay, seeing none, I would look favorably upon a motion to vote. Laura,
Motion to vote.
thank you. Sarah,
Seconded.
thank you. All those in favor of this bill, please raise your hands. Thank you. Please put your hands down. All those opposed? Thank you. And all those abstaining. SB 21-41 passes. I will now entertain SB 21-42, a bill to approve appointments to the President's Cabinet, and I'll entertain Abel to speak on this legislation.
Hi, everyone. Once again, my Wi-Fi is not great, and I'm on my phone, so I'm camera off for now. But I am appointments to the cabinet, one for graduate affairs, one for financial accessibility. Both of the proposed directors are highly actively in graduate student advocacy and improving the resources and students' connections to financial resources on grounds for first-gen and low-income students. So I'd be very pleased if you all could approve both of these appointments with flying colors for Ari Anderson and Rachel Heidman. Thank you.
Thank you, Abel. Are there any comments, questions, or concerns about this bill? Okay, seeing none, I will look favorably upon a motion to vote. Jason?
Motion to vote.
Thank you. Jay?
Seconded.
Thank you. We will now vote on this bill. Please raise your hands if you are in favor. Thank you. Please put your hands down. Okay, all of those opposed? And all of those abstaining. Thank you. SB 21-42 passes. I will now entertain SB 21-43, a bill to approve an executive board discretionary allocation, and I'll be entertaining able to speak on this legislation.
Hi, again, thanks, Gabby. The executive board this year has decided to focus a lot of our efforts and resources on mutual aid efforts, not just through UVA Mutual Aid and our Support and Access Services branch, but when times of extraordinary need or crises arise, we think we have an obligation to help meet that need. So for this particular case, I don't feel that it's appropriate for me to offer a lot of detail, but please trust that the executive board feels that there is an emergency mutual aid need that requires immediate action. So we would like to allocate an additional $1,500 in non-SAF, so funding not coming from the student activities fee discretionary funding. If you have any other questions on what this allocation will go towards, please feel free to contact me before the second vote, which will take place at our first general body meeting of the school year on August 24th, which is a Tuesday.
Thank you, Abel. Are there any comments, questions, or concerns about this bill? Okay, seeing none, I would look favorably upon a motion to table. Jason?
Motion to table.
Thank you. Jay?
Seconded.
Thank you. Are there any objections? If there are any objections, please click your red X. Thank you. Seeing none, the bill is tabled. I will now entertain SB 21-44, a bill to approve an appointment to the Support and Access Services, and I'll entertain able to speak on this legislation.
All right. Hello again, everybody. Thank you, Gabby. So this bill appoint a new member to the Student Council Executive Board, Chief of Support and Access Services. Maheen was elected to the Future Business Leaders of America Vice President role for the national organization, which is going to be a much larger time commitment than we had foreseen when he was initially appointed. So we would like to thank him for his service. He did a great job setting the branch up. And now we'd like to appoint Adrian Mamaril, who has served as a student council representative for the last year and is deeply connected to a lot of the communities that benefit from the support and access services, like the international student community, among others. So I think he'll be a great appointment, and he's already done a good job helping us bridge the operational gap between Maheen's appointment and hopefully his successful approval right now. So thanks for your support on Adrian's appointment.
Thank you, Abel. Are there any comments, questions, or concerns about this bill? Thank you. Seeing none, I would look favorably upon a motion to vote. Ella?
Motion to vote?
Thank you. Laura?
Seconded.
Thank you. We will now vote on this bill. If you are in favor, please raise your hands. Thank you. Please put your hands down. All of those opposed? Thank you. And all those abstaining? Thank you. SB 21-44 passes. And I will now entertain SR 21-45, a resolution calling for virtual learning options during the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic. And I'll entertain Rand to speak on this legislation.
Hey guys, is it possible for me to turn my camera on?
we're not doing cameras on in this meeting, but next week will be in person. So we'll see your lovely face in person, Rand. But no, I'm sorry.
No worries. Hey guys, it's good to be here with you. So as we're all aware, class starts in a few weeks, and unfortunately the situation here in Virginia and elsewhere across the country is not looking great. Here in Virginia, we have the highest COVID case counts that we've seen since the end of February, and they're still rising, suggesting that the peak is at least a few weeks away. This means that even with a high vaccination rate among students and staff, infections are still a certainty, whether among students who, for health-related reasons, can't get vaccinated through breakthrough infections and the like. It's a problem that will end up affecting all of us, and rather than leaving solving this problem to individual students and professors, we should make sure we're prepared in advance for it, to make sure that students can take what steps they need to protect their health while also participating fully in classes. This proposal is doable in the very short time frame we have before classes start, provides a good base, like a starting point to engage with administrators and professors, and would really help to standardize things and make sure that students who do not feel well or are not able to return to classes for health-related reasons related to the pandemic can keep themselves safe and also keep their professors safe. Thank you.
Thank you, Rand. Are there any comments? Oh, Abel.
Thanks, Gabby. I just wanted to chime in and mention that as a student registered with SDAC, it was never easier for me to get to class this year. It was never easier for me to get to class than over the last year. I think that a virtual option really does ease the burden that some students feel is imposed when they have to attend in-person classes when a health-related issue might stand in the way. So I think especially during the ongoing pandemic, it makes sense to offer some sort of virtual option while still hoping that most students can attend classes in person. With that said, I think that in the long term, in STEM classes, and again, for students who might be otherwise unable to attend classes in person due to health reasons, it might make sense to consider offering virtual attendance options even after COVID-19. So this might serve as a strong proof of concept for that thought.
Thank you, Abel. Violet?
Sorry, it wouldn't let me unmute. I totally agree with both of you that I think this is a great idea. I just wondered, especially with the threat of quarantine, similar to last year with Delta, has administration been spoken to yet? And if so, because some of this classes start next week and is kind of urgent to the extent of like if somebody gets quarantined tomorrow, they can't go the first week of classes. So I was just wondering, has administration already been talked to, and what is their kind of current support or concerns about this topic?
Thank you, Violet. Abel?
At this point, I haven't approached senior academic administrators like Provost McGill on the topic, and I think after this resolution passes, it would be appropriate to approach that executive vice president level of admin. But what I will say is the university's communications all the way from Provost McGill to deans to association deans, that there will only be a limited number of virtual students who do not return to grounds. And so they have made it quite clear that at this point, there is not really support for any sort of virtual options proposal. With that said, I think that it is still realistic to implement some sort of virtual option, even just for lectures where a simple recording device could be given to the professor to then upload onto Colab within the next week, because we have had a lot of experience with hybrid classes over the last year. I think some other types of classes like seminars or even discussions will be more difficult to offer a virtual option for, but at least lecture classes would definitely be doable to include in some sort of virtual option solution within the next week. And then those other types of courses we continue to lobby for a virtual option for even after August 24th, because the problem will, persist throughout the semester.
Thank you, Abel. Ella?
I just have a question. So I know you haven't talked to administration yet, but my concern is that offering a hybrid option, from having talked to professors and high school teachers, which is kind of similar to the college classes in terms of offering an online option, it's not as much of a burden on administration to provide an online option as it is on the individual professors themselves. And I was just wondering if there was any plan to incorporate that into talks with administration, to like support professors in offering this hybrid option, and also making that hybrid option equally as rewarding as in-person classes. I'm worried too that this bill isn't really specific enough, because it's not clear like what specific cases would warrant using a virtual option. The only reason I'm hesitant, I think it's a very good idea, but the only reason I'm hesitant is because I personally really had a hard time with online classes, and I know a lot of my peers did. And I know that it's hard on teachers to provide hybrid options. So I was just wondering if that is going to be a part of these talks.
Thank you, Ella. Abel?
Yeah, I think that's a really, really good question, and a fair concern. So at this point, I have spoken to different members of the Faculty Senate, and they hold similar reservations on implementing hybrid classes across the board. So part of why the resolution is vague at this point is because we as authors of the bill are not pedagogical experts on how you might implement something like this for a variety of different classes. So we're basically offering broad support for the solution while still giving enough flexibility for us to build a collaborative solution with professors and administrators. I think that there are ways that the university could have done a better job supporting professors through setting up their hybrid course options. For example, I think more regular, IT support, or even allowing, teaching assistants to play a bigger role in facilitating the virtual component of classes is all stuff that we can explore that the university didn't explore last year. But the short answer is yes, I've spoken to some faculty representatives, and the bill is vague, so we can create those collaborative solutions. And if Rand or Thika wants to say anything else on that, yeah, I'd encourage them to speak too.
Thank you, Abel. Are there any other comments, questions, or concerns about this resolution? Tyler?
Yes, I just wanted to say I fully support the effort. And I think it's just a matter of at least having the option and having a plan, because I reached out to Provost McGill and I think Mr. Citro on the medical staff about this issue on my own separately. And it just seems that there's no kind of coherent plan in order. And I understand we all want to get back to in-person, all want to have things be the way they were. But it just seems like if things do go south, there's no plan. And so I think this is, a start and something that we need to at least have a plan in place, right? Because I feel like there's no established plan for it if things do go south. So again, I just urge my colleagues to support this so that we do have some kind of plan in place. So that way, when the pandemic first came and was first onset, we don't have this scramble to find solutions. So again, I just urge all my colleagues to support this.
Thank you, Tyler. Are there any other comments, questions, or concerns about this resolution? Okay, seeing none, I would look favorably upon a motion to vote. Laura?
Motion to vote.
Thank you. Tyler?
Second.
Thank you. All of those in favor, please raise your hands. Okay, thank you. Please put your hands down. All of those opposed, please raise your hands. And all of those abstaining, please raise your hands. Thank you. SR 21-45 passes. I will now read the vote count from the current session. SB 21-37 passed with 14 yeas, 0 noes, and 0 abstentions. SB 21-41 passed with 14 yeas. SB 21-42 passed with 14 yeas. SB 21-43 was tabled, and SB 21-44 passed with 14 yeas, and SB 21-45 passed with 15 yeas. We will now exit legislative session. Abel, did you want to say anything?